it's time to acknowledge one important, indelible, incontrovertible fact. How the Grinch Stole Christmas is the wrong question. We know how. He steals all the toys from all the Who girls and boys, but then it doesn't work, and suddenly the Grinch loves Christmas, and his heart is big, and he should probably go to a cardiologist. But the point is, how is irrelevant, because the Grinch does not, in fact, succeed in stealing Christmas from the Who's. But why? Why the Grinch stole Christmas? Now there's a story that deserves telling. And hark! Do you hear a hot take that's incoming? Behold, here's the title. The Who's had it coming. Now, okay, I can sense your hesitation through the camera. The Grinch is like Susie and Satan. He deceives children, steals toys, and sadistically torments everyone around him, even his dog. No one deserves to be Grinched. Well, that's where you're wrong, Skippy, and rather than skipping to the Who's, who most people think of as sweet innocent spoilers, they're not. Let's focus on someone else briefly. We all remember the Cat in the Hat, right? Sneaks into a brother and sister's house, brings uninvited guests, torments a fish, comes back later, brings even more uninvited guests, and generally makes everyone feel, unsafe. I know most of us read those books as kids, so we kind of like the cat's antics, but let's be honest, the Cat in the Hat is an asshole. Well, guess what? There's a cartoon that came out in 1982 called The Grinch Grinches the Cat in the Hat, and 99% of it is amazing retribution. The cat leaves his car parked in the middle of the street, gets really obnoxious about it, so the Grinch basically makes it so the cat can't talk or see or have much control in his own life, and knowing the cat's backstory, that's pretty gratifying. Unfortunately, because the cat is Dr. Seuss's actual greatest villain, he beats the Grinch by singing a song about the Grinch's dead mother, and even gets a bunch of other sickos to be in on the choir. And by the way, you can say what you want about the Grinch. He may do mean things. He may even recite an oath about doing those mean things.
Sound of your voice is the sound of my choice. I am the master of everyone's ears.
He also has a mirror image that heckles him into doing bad, a lot like Smeagol in Lord of the Rings. And whether that's the work of a magic ring, mental illness, or something else, it's clear that the Grinch is dealing with some stuff. So keep all that in mind for this next part, because now it's time to talk about why the Grinch stole Christmas. The short version? Because the Who's are annoying. In the book, all we know is that the Who's are noisy on Christmas, but by the Chuck Jones cartoon, we learn the degree of the noise. There's squeaks and squeals, jing-tinglers on heels, there's flu-flubers, tartinkers, hoo-hoobas, and garginkas! And I don't know what any of those things are, but if you told me someone was about to slam their slew slunkers in my general direction, I would start a hashtag movement against them, and it would be super popular. But this is all just appetizer. The main course, the roast beast, if you will, is the Jim Carrey movie, which, because it's over an hour longer than the 60s cartoon, has a lot of extra time to fill. And it fills that time with bone-chilling backstory. Forget the Grinch's mother for a second. In this version of the timeline, the Grinch is adopted. So he's this swarthy kid whose facial hair grew in too quickly, so all the Who girls and boys at school make fun of him. And the only girl who does like him, genuinely, this is true, hypersexualizes him. It all plays out as a very thinly veiled analog for racism, legit. Basically, the Grinch tries to fit in, gets tortured even more, and eventually just runs away, and his foster parents don't even bother trying to bring him back. That alone is enough reason for the Grinch to hate the Who's, but the reason he hates Christmas specifically is revealed when the Who's ask the Grinch to be their cheermeister. Turns out being the cheermeister on Christmas means being forcibly carted around, force-fed food you don't really want to eat, and finally being given a gift designed to drudge up an entire life's worth of insecurities. But all that is dwarfed when the Grinch reveals that the gifts the Who's give each other on Christmas are all thrown away and wind up in the dumping ground next to the Grinch's home. So not only is Who Christmas nothing but empty consumerism, but also the Who's dump all their trash on the Grinch, including hazardous waste and, like their poop and stuff. That's both gross literally and metaphorically. It's only because Cindy Lou Who identifies with and learns from the Grinch that she's able to call out how hollow the Whos are with their performative kindness. Anyway, the point is that the reason why The Grinch Stole Christmas ends up being in order to teach the Whos a lesson, which frankly they need to be taught. And they learn it. And then the Grinch learns it too. And then they all live happily ever after, thanks to the Grinch. Hey, you want one more rhyme? Here you go. How he stole Christmas is a poll for dumb's dumbing. So be smart, ask why, because the Whos had it coming.